Hey everyone, welcome to the gaming setup. You don't see this ever because I don't put my game content here, but this is what it looks like whenever you watch a stream. We're not streaming right now, but we are going to go through my top 5, not my top 5, my 5-star rated books from 2024, and there are 30 of them. So I thought maybe we could do a little tier ranking. Now, it is, what day is it? December 7th. So, this is just my 5 stars so far. There's always a potential that I will have more 5 stars before the end of the year. But with the even 30, I feel like it's a good time. It's a good time to rank them. So, let's go over the tiers. So, we have this book is my whole personality. Pretty self-explanatory. This book is my whole personality. It is everything to me. I talk about it often. I recommend it to people all the time. It's a huge part of my world at the moment. Second tier, this is on my reread list. So I liked it enough or loved it enough to want to reread it in the future, whether it is to learn more from it or just to retain more of the story if it's fiction. Those books will go here. And then easy to recommend. They're easy to recommend. Not easy to recommend, but still enjoyed it. Things that I don't think would be widely loved, but I loved, they go in this tier. These books will be here for nostalgia reasons. You're going to see a lot of Nancy Drew books that I've rated 5 stars. Those will be in this tier. And then lastly, this one might actually be a 4-star read, 4-star material. So books that I rated 5 stars after I read them, but upon further reflection, I'm like, maybe they don't really deserve that 5th star. Okay, so let's get started. Secret of Shadow Ranch. This is a Nancy Drew book. I do love this one, but it is going to go in the nostalgia tier. The Woman in Me by Britney Spears. This is the Britney Spears memoir, which I loved and I listened to on an audiobook. I don't think that I would say it's easy to recommend, so I think I'm going to put it here. I really loved it, but I don't think that I would just like reach for this book to be like, hey, you have to read this. It was very good, so I'm going to put it in this tier. I feel like that's very fitting. I Who Have Never Known Men. My whole personality. After I read this book, I thought about it for multiple days, and now that I'm looking at the cover again, I'm like, do I want to reread it? Like, I read it this summer, and I'm already like, maybe I could reread this book. It's so good. It just makes you think, man. I loved it. Mame is like a very close second to this tier. I wouldn't say it's my whole personality, but it's definitely one that I want to reread. I listened to it on audiobook originally from the library, and immediately after I finished it, I bought a physical copy. So if that tells you anything about how much I love the book, there you go. The Clue in the Diary, another Nancy Drew book. It's going to go in the nostalgia one. The 100 Years War on Palestine. I really enjoyed it, really learned a lot from it. It's not easy to recommend because it's kind of textbooky. It's a very academic read. I did listen to it on audiobook, which made it easier, I think. And I don't know if I would put it on my reread list either, because I think that there are more books on this topic that I would like to read before I reread this one, if that makes sense. So I think I am going to put it here. I Survived Capitalism and All I Got Was This Lousy T-Shirt by Madeline Pendleton. I loved this book. Also listened to it on an audiobook. Also purchased a physical copy immediately after finishing it. I would say this book is my whole personality. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Loved this book. Loved it so much. Is it my whole personality? No. Is it on my reread list? Maybe in the like far distant future, but it's not one that I'm like reaching for again right away. I would say it's easy to recommend though. Very easy to recommend. People We Meet on Vacation. Not My Whole Personality, not on my reread list, but I would say easy to recommend. I really enjoyed it a lot. Upstream by Mary Oliver, My Whole Personality. I've reread this book 3 times, once this year. I recommend it to everyone who likes poetry. I recommend it to everyone who likes nature and the planet, and everyone who is interested in spirituality in general. It's so good. I love it so much. If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin, I think that I'm going to put it in easy to recommend. I almost want to put it in the reread list, but James Baldwin is one of those authors. Was my first James Baldwin book. He's one of those authors that has such a wide, book list. I want to read all of his books before I go back to one. So we're going to put it in easy to recommend, not quite on my reread list, but maybe in the future. Sourdough by Robin Sloan, easy to recommend. Not really on my reread list, not My Whole Personality, but I really, really love this book. I listened to it on audio. I also own the physical copy. The reason why I got it on audio in the first place is because it wasn't really catching me as a physical read, but for whatever reason, listening to the audiobook really did it for me. So definitely putting that one here. Sapiens. I think that I might put this as a 4-star read. If I read this now, I think that I would be rating it 4 stars. I did love it. I learned a lot from it. But I don't think that it fits in any of these categories super well. So 4 stars is still an above average book. Let me just say that. But it's not a perfect read for me, I think. I kind of feel bad putting it there because it makes me feel like I'm second guessing myself, but this feels right to me. Feminism is for Everybody by Bell Hooks. Easy to recommend. The Secret Life of Bees. I loved this book. It was like the perfect summer read. I don't think that I would say it's My Whole Personality. I don't think that I would say it's on my reread list either. So I'm going to say easy to recommend. The Silent Patient was so good. I finished this book in a day. I think I want to say easy to recommend. I don't know if I would reread it. Because it's one of those books that has like a twist at the end, and I don't know if it would have the same effect on me if I reread it. You know what I mean? So I think it's got to be in the easy to recommend. Women Who Run with the Wolves, I would reread this for sure. I listened to it on an audiobook, but I feel like if I read it like physical copy version, that I would retain even more. So I think that I would want to reread that. Necessary Trouble by Drew Gilpin Faust was a very unexpected 5-star because I just was browsing through the library, the Libby app, for a book that was readily available. I didn't have to put it on hold. And this one just caught my eye. I had never heard of it prior. I didn't know who this person was, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I think it's one that I would like to own a physical copy of in the future. And I think that I would reread it. So I'm going to put Necessary Trouble on the reread list. This is Secret of the Redgate Farm, another Nancy Drew book. I'm going to put this in the nostalgia tier. Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen is also a nostalgia book. Braiding Sweetgrass is basically my Bible. So going in My Whole Personality for sure. I have lent this out to a friend recently, and I want it back so that I can reread it immediately. I loved it. Bowling Alone, I would say, is on my reread list. I learned a lot from it, and I think that if I reread it, then I would retain more. So I'm going to put it there. Hood Feminism, easy to recommend. Such a good book. Meet Me by the Fountain. I would say this book is My Whole Personality. Also on Goodreads, it only has like 1,000 reviews. So it's kind of really under the radar, but if you're interested in the history of mall culture, this book, Meet Me by the Fountain by Alexandra Lang. It's so good. I loved it. I would definitely reread it. It was the first book that I read this year, and obviously the first 5-star that I gave out. I love it. I love thinking about mall culture. I love thinking about like how America specifically has changed from like the 1980s era of mall culture to now, like the rise and fall. Oh, I love it. And it's also such a good commentary on third spaces. Oh, I love this book. The House on Mango Street, easy to recommend. And it's a short book. It's a short read, so it's even more easily recommended. The Vanishing Half, it's definitely on my reread list. I listened to the audiobook and ended up finding the physical copy at a secondhand bookstore. So I got it for like $1. So that's on my bookshelf now, and I would love to reread it physical copy style. Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Y. Davis. Love this book. I can't decide if I want to put this book in My Whole Personality or if it's just going to go on my reread list. I think, I love Angela Davis. I think that I prefer Women, Race, and Class over this book just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I think I'm going to put it just on my reread list. A Psalm for the Wild-Built. I don't know if this one is easy for me to recommend because it feels very niche. It's like cozy sci-fi, and not everybody's gonna love that. I feel like that's too niche to put in easy to recommend, so I think I'm gonna put it down here. The Shortest History of Israel and Palestine, I think I'm gonna put in 4-star material. I listened to the audiobook of it, and while it was a good summary of the history of Israel and Palestine, I feel like, I don't know, there was something lacking for me. Maybe if I read the physical copy, I would feel differently, but it's going to sit in 4-star material for now. And then lastly, my most recent 5-star rating is Cast, The Origin of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. I listened to the audiobook of this as well and absolutely loved it. It made me emotional. It made me learn so much. It made me interested in learning more. It was such a winner of a book. Definitely on my reread list. I would love to own a physical copy of this. Yeah, this is... Oh, I've read so many good books this year. I've read so many good books. Like, this isn't even including my 4-star books. I think there are even more 4-star books. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you got some good recommendations for your 2025 TBR. If you want to tell me some of your 5-star reads from this year, please do. Leave them in the comments. I am looking for more books to put on my TBR. Specifically if they will help me diversify my reading, because I have been slacking in the diversity area, especially when it comes to authors. A majority of my authors that I've read this year are white, which is not a problem, but I would just like to see a little bit more of a balance between white authors and authors of color. So, specifically, if you have any diverse reads that you would like to share with me, please put those in the comments. Do you think that I ranked this well? If you've read some of these books or all of them, would you move any of these books around? What do you think about it? Give me all of your thoughts in the comments. I hope you're enjoying Vlogmas so far. I know we're not very far into December, but I'm having a good time. So, I'll see you in the next one.